Hey there, welcome to Board Game Barrister, our local game shop in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. It is our first time back at the game table in the year 2023, and today we played Cat in the Box, where quantum physics and trick-taking card games meet. We'll talk about that in just a second. I'm here with my fellow barristers, Elizabeth, Glenn, Ian, and Gordon, and we're going to talk about how to play this game before we get into what we thought of it. Welcome to Cat in the Box, a trick-taking card game for 3 to 5 players. Now the first thing to know is how the concept of a trick-taking game works, and I'll go over it really briefly here, but we have a really good explanation in the Crew Mission Deep Sea Play-Along tutorial, so I'll link that in the description as well if you want more details. The basic concept is that one player will start each of our rounds by playing out a card from their hand in one of the 4 suits in the game, and in this case those suits are represented by the colors. Everyone else then has to play a card in the same color as that leading player, and whoever plays the highest card wins the trick and takes those cards in front of them, so they've won one trick. Now the tricky part of this game is that, as you can see here, none of the cards in my hand actually have any suit or color on them, because I get to decide what color they are when they play them. So the cheeky joke there is that all of my cards are both no suits and all suits until they get played and we decide what suit they are. So if I was the lead player and I led the trick with a 6, I then have to tell everyone else at the table which card in the deck this 6 is. Let's say in this case that my 6 is the yellow 6. So I'm going to go on this table of all the cards in our quantum deck, and I'm going to mark that the yellow 6 has been played, so nobody else can have the yellow 6 in their hand. I just played the yellow 6. Everyone else then has to play in yellow, so they have to play a card from their hand, the value of which hasn't been played already in yellow, and mark that one as they're playing them. And the player who plays the highest card gets to take the trick and they get those cards in front of them. So what's the point of all this stuff we're working on here? Well, your first objective is going to start at the beginning of the round. You're going to look at all the cards in your hand and decide how many tricks you think you can win with that hand. And then you're going to bid that many tricks. So if I thought my hand could win 2, I'll put a token on the 2 here to show I think I'm going to win 2 tricks. Now if I manage to win the 2 tricks that I've bid, that means that I'm going to look out at the board and see if I win any bonus points. Over the course of the game, if I can keep playing cards that put my tokens in a pattern that are all next to each other like this, then at the end of the round, if I match my bid, I also get points for every token I've got in that largest set of mine out here, which is 4. So in this example, I would have 2 tricks and I get a point for each trick I won, so that's 2 points, plus my 4 bonus points for a total of 6 points at the end of the round. Now there are 2 more tricky little concepts that we'll go over really quickly, the first of which is when you run out of cards of a certain color. Now if we're looking at the board and our hand of cards and we say, how can we possibly run out of a color? There aren't any colors on the cards. Well, you know what's in your hand, you decide what's in your hand, and you decide what color they are. So if at any point in the game somebody started us on a blue trick and you didn't want to play a card in blue, you could then declare, oh hey, none of the cards in my hand are blue, and I've marked this with an X to show that there are no blue cards left in my hand. I can never play a card in the blue row again for the rest of this round. And the last thing to know is that the red suit is trump in this game, and that means that in any round, the highest red card will beat any other card of any other color. So if we had a red 1 in play, it doesn't matter what else has been played in these other rows, the red 1 wins. Now red only becomes accessible every round once a player has declared that they have run out of the lead suit and instead plays their card into red for that round, and from there on it's fair game, anyone can play a red trump card for the rest of that round. Oh, and I almost forgot, the paradox. If your hand gets down close to the end so that you only have a couple options left as to what you'll play, and none of your cards can be played, you can see all the 3s have already been taken and I've only got 3s in my hand, this means I've caused a paradox and I actually bust out of this round and all my tricks become worth negative points. So you definitely don't want to cause a paradox. Alright, I know that was a lot. We're going to talk through everything we liked about it and how great the game is, get you a little bit more detail on it in a second here. We're going to play 1 hand for every player at the table, which means everybody gets to lead 1 round, and then we'll score up our points from each round and see who won. Alright, so Cat in the Box is a game that is going to scale directly with the number of players you have at the table as far as how long it's going to take you to play. We played with 5 people, obviously, and because each of us needed to start 1 hand, that means we were playing 5 full rounds of the game, and each of those rounds, all 5 of us needed to choose and play a card. So it was probably about 10 to 15 minutes per player is what I would expect from your games, and it plays really well with 3, 4, or 5 players because the game has a bunch of mechanics that actually scale it to the number of players you have. There's going to be a different board in the center of the table with different amount of numbers on it depending on how many people you have, and there's a different set of the cards you'll play with. You'll take some out if you have fewer players, for instance, so it's really great no matter how many players you're playing with. There's even a 2-player variant, which we didn't get to try, but yeah, awesome for 3 to 5.
So I play a lot of trick-taking games. It's one of my favorite favorite genres of games to play. Everything from Hearts and Sheep's Head and Euchre to the Crew that came out. It was one of our favorites more recently. And this one really checks a lot of boxes for me on a trick-taking game. It takes the meta of the way that you play trick-taking games and kind of turns it on its head, because all of the cards that you have can be any suit that you want them to be, or it could be none of the suits you want them to be at the same time. So like somebody who really enjoys that thinky part of when do I play these cards exactly at the right times, or when do I bow out of a hand at exactly the right times, is really going to enjoy this one. Take it. You have. There's only one blue card left.
Oh, I know. It's in my hand, unless it's in somebody else's hand.
I mean, it's definitely in someone else's hand. Don't you want to win 2 tricks over there?
Come on,
Roach?
I sure do. There's
Don't you want to win?
You're right. There is only one blue left. That's
you gotta
valid
win
information.
lots of
All
tricks.
right.
Yeah, you got to win your 2 tricks. Yeah, baby.
Don't let him talk to you. But I am out of blue. It's just true.
Oh, please play a red card.
It's just true that I'm out of blue. It's the.
Yeah. No! Oh, wait, that's fine. Kind of. Okay, yeah.
Mark it.
Mark it. Yeah, baby.
Yeah, boo-boo.
Bonus points are back on the table.
With trick-taking games, a lot of it is trying to anticipate what your opponents are going to play or what they have in their hand. And it's harder to do that in this game because you don't have suits. And there's one extra of each number that's going to fit on the board. So it's like if I'm sitting there with 4 8s, I can't be guaranteed I'm going to get all 4 of those 8s because someone else is sitting out there with an 8. Just so many different things that come up that aren't in a regular trick-taking game. It's like that. Here's your trick-taking game, and this one cranks it up to the proverbial 11 and says we're going to make you think even more. And then you add in the pattern making on the board, and it's like, wow.
Yeah. I agree. I think it was round 5 where I had 3 9s in my hand, and normally having 3 of the highest cards to win tricks is a great thing to have, and I pitched one of those. Because I was like, I don't want to play around that style of maybe getting locked out and creating the punishing paradox that gives you negative points. Normally that'd be a great, dominating hand in a trick-taking game because you can win everything you need to. And in this one, you don't guarantee that because the other player's choices matter a bunch.
Yep.
So I don't play a lot of trick-taking games. I understand them, but I'm not very good at them. And the thing that I really appreciated about Cat in the Box is how they did attach that theme of the Schrodinger's cat. These cards don't have a suit. They do have a suit. They both are and aren't. They have infinite potential, which means I get the decision point. I get the control of when I'm choosing it to be that color or not. And I also enjoyed the pattern identifying of that board filling up. I appreciated being able to watch and identify those spatial patterns.
I take a lot of personal pleasure in how this entire game is just an inside joke. And once you've played a single round of it, you're in on the joke. Yeah. But imagining somebody standing behind you as you're looking at your suitless hand of cards and going, yeah, I'm out of blues, and moving this little token, and then playing something out onto the table is great. And looking at your hand and being like, I'm a paradox, oops, is just so silly. And once you've played it once, you're like, yeah, I get all the jokes, that's so funny. But yeah, the sheer weird factor of how they've twisted the genre with this game makes it so fun to just think about viewing it from the outside and to explain to people for the first time, to be honest. So yeah, it was great.
What I love about it is in a trick-taking game, any trick-taking game, a large part of it is you're playing hand after hand after hand, is you're watching how the other players play something like, oh, you're out of that suit, oh, and you get this crazy table talk as they're playing the cards, and you're learning what they have in their hand based on how they play. You get that same thing here, but it's from their choices. And so now it's like, what you're going, because it's their choice to go out of the suit. And I loved that ability to personalize it down to a choice to still get that crazy reaction. So,
for sure.
Super, super great.
Why are you like this?
You out of yellow already?
Maybe. That could be.
That could very well be. Big dicey play, but fine.
I'm out of yellows.
Why are you like this?
That's a red too.
Sure is. Look at that.
So it's going to be like
Okay,
that.
I'll take that drink.
So at the end of the day, I would say that if there is at least one game that you already like that is a trick-taking game, so if you're familiar with the style of games, this is a super cool spin on that style of game, on the trick-taking game. If you haven't played a trick-taking game before, I probably wouldn't say this should be the first one. There's a bunch of amazing ones out there that Ian and we've already named, so those are amazing. But yeah, if you want a cool trick-taking game, this one is sweet. Alrighty, I think that about does it for Cat in the Box. Thank you so much for joining us as we played. We had a great time playing. Hope you had a fun time watching. As always, if you're in the Milwaukee the area, come on in and visit us at the Board Game Barrister stores. We'd love to see you. If you're not, you can visit us online, leave a comment. We love getting back to those, and we will see you in next week's video. Thanks so much for watching.